So many families, so many couples just getting home tonight after days trapped at sea on that Carnival cruise ship, Triumph. The real triumph, though, those passengers simply getting through it all. The so-called cruise from hell finally docking in Alabama. 5 days after a terrifying engine fire knocked out power and turned that ship into what some called a floating petri dish. There was suffering, fortunately not the casualties of last year's Costa Concordia, but all of it does raise serious questions. And so tonight here, we put a microscope on the industry as a whole. Why was an ultimate rescue so late in coming? And were the apologies too little, too late? Matt Gutman, on this from the start, was on that dock getting answers.
The thousands of stranded passengers knew their ordeal was finally over. And this morning, they came pouring out of the crippled ship. It was an untriumphant return.
We get to go home.
Standing on and in some cases kissing terra firma for the first time in 8 days.
You can talk to us. Come on over.
I'm speechless. It's just really great to finally be back in America and on land.
Some angry.
The doctor on the staff can, excuse my French, he can kiss my.
It was the worst experience I've ever had. We thought we were going to die for a little while.
Others relieved.
I'm just happy to be alive. It's quite an ordeal, but we're here.
They ran, many wearing bathrobes against the cold, to plant kisses on loved ones, holding on to each other. By the hundreds, they were stuffed onto buses before they could even shower or even change their gritty clothes. Among the first out, Stephanie Stevenson and Rob Mallum. Not just your regular cruisers, they were headed for the tropics for a reason, a romantic wedding at sea. He's in a tie, she's in white. But marital bliss would turn into maritime nightmare early on Sunday morning, 3 days into the cruise.
Looked over the side rail and you could see the just billows and billows of smoke coming out of the top of the stack.
Were you scared?
I was pretty freaked out.
A fire had erupted in the engine room and some passengers go into Titanic mode.
They said Alpha Team to the
Attention, attention, code Alpha engine room.
People take it upon themselves to strap on life jackets and scramble towards the lifeboats.
I saw the smoke. I knew good and well there was a good chance the ship would be sinking.
The fire had burned out the ship's main engines. The sparkling city on the sea, known as the fun ship you see in these Carnival ads, was now not much more than a 100,000-ton cork bobbing in the Gulf of Mexico. The electricity cuts out. Everything goes dark. Carly Jackson and Jody Adelhauser are jazzercise instructors from Paris, Texas.
All of the power shut off at like once, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Titanic.
The lower decks fill with smoke, engulfing some of the cafeterias. They even see it billowing from the stack.
The smoke has gotten worse.
Then the air conditioning goes out. Still, the crew assures the passengers that everything is under control.
Nothing to worry about, folks. You can wait up on the Lido deck. It's really lovely out there.
An automated system extinguishes the fire, but the ship stays dead in the water. By Monday, 24 hours after the crisis began, Carnival decided to tow the ship not to nearby Mexico, but to Mobile, Alabama, because not everybody had passports with them. That added nearly 350 miles and an extra day of hardship for passengers.
I'm not liking that.
By this time, 2 other Carnival cruise ships had been diverted to deliver food and water to the hobbled vessel. Helicopters were also deployed carrying generators and other supplies on Wednesday.
They came in, dropped off water and stuff, but that didn't stop babies from going hungry. That didn't stop other people from hoarding food.
Wow. But despite their efforts, conditions aboard the Triumph were deteriorating fast. No electricity, not enough running water, and almost no cell phone service, leaving parents and loved ones on land frantic.
I just need to know that she's okay.
The ship, 300 yards long, equipped with every amenity, and now the more than 4,000 aboard could only communicate in snippets of text messages.
We're in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
36 hours into the crisis, no hot food, no hot water, no AC, and the ship was listing.
When we were leaning one way, it was kind of a little nerve-wracking.
Worst of all, backed up toilets. There was sewage everywhere.
We got one flush, one time.
5 days, one flush.
5 days, one flush.
For toilets, the ship handed out these red bags.
People were using the restroom in little red plastic bags and throwing them out into the hallway.
We were in shock. We were like, I'm not using a red bag.
The thing is you just don't eat. You just don't eat.
To not have to use the red bag,
Controlling the colon. You just don't eat.
We met a couple that we were talking to that said her husband was laying in bed and just the ceiling fell down on him full of
urine, feces, all of that.
Yeah.
The stench and heat driving people to camp out on the decks. They built tent cities out of bed sheets.
We've been shipwrecked for, I guess, 3 days now.
ABC News was the first to fly out over the ship on Wednesday. You can tell how powerful the wind is, gusting at 25 miles an hour. Those conditions bringing out the worst in some people.
They opened the bar one evening and gave away free drinks, and that was a really bad idea. There were people throwing things over the side of the ship, acting unruly.
And during the voyage, passengers did receive updates on the PA system as well as printed status updates, but Rob Mallon thinks that was another poor decision.
Somehow they managed to print us out little letters that they sent to our room.
Maybe they were using the emergency generator to supply printers instead of toilets.
Yeah.
Folks hoarding food, forcing others onto a diet of onion sandwiches.
What was the food situation like?
You had to stand in line for 3 hours to get a meal. And the first couple days it was the onion sandwiches.
But at least they were steadily, if slowly, being tugged back to the U.S. That's when Mike Padilla finally got through to his wife on the phone, anxiously waiting her return.
They think the tug line might have just broken.
Passengers say this should never have happened. Just last week, Carnival admitted that there was an electrical problem on the Triumph's previous voyage, but said there is no evidence at this time of any relationship between this previous issue and the fire that occurred on February 10th. This is the latest in a string of incidents involving cruise ships. Last year, the Costa Concordia capsized in Italy, killing 32 passengers. And in 2010, another Carnival ship, the Splendor, was stranded for days after another engine fire. Unlike the airline industry, there's no agency regulating the safety operations of cruise lines. Jim Walker is a maritime lawyer.
And unlike our U.S. aviation, commercial aviation fleet in the States that has the FAA that can oversee the industry and actually shut a fleet down if there's safety violations, there's no one looking out for the safety of passengers on ships relative to fires.
A spokesman for the cruise industry denies there's no regulation. I know you can't talk to me, but is there anybody who can? For 3 days, not a single Carnival exec appeared publicly until CEO Jerry Cahill spoke late Tuesday.
We pride ourselves in providing our guests with a great vacation experience, and clearly we failed in this particular case.
Carnival has offered the passengers a full refund, a voucher for another cruise, and $500, and it will cover travel expenses.
Oh my God, it's degrading, demoralizing. And then they want to insult us by giving us $500.
Since Sunday, ABC News has been requesting answers to questions about the ship's history of mechanical problems. No answer. They did hold 3 press conferences, but answered very few questions.
I'm sorry, Mr. Thornton. Matt Gutman from ABC News. Thank you for taking the time today. But I wonder if you could take a few more questions, like, do you really? You're running away. We've been trying to track down anybody from Carnival to talk to us.
And the company's chief marketing officer, he also retreated.
We're on our way. 2 minutes.
But one thing that did go right in the end for Carnival was bringing that colossus of a ship up this narrow channel in darkness. And after 8 days at sea, the most precious of cargo delivered back to family members.
You guys gonna sleep tonight?
I'm gonna shower and then I'm gonna sleep.
We're showering. We had our food, now just a long shower, long hot shower.
I really want to get home though.
And for the newlyweds, a delayed wedding banquet of burgers and fries.
This is gonna be the best hamburger ever.
Never was there a couple so happy to trade a cruise for a bus.
When we got on the bus, we went back and we flushed the toilet just to make sure it worked.
And 2 other notes tonight. It's your tax dollars that help pay the price of these rescues by the Coast Guard, leading some to ask tonight, should the cruise lines be paying more? And as for size, the Carnival Corporation owns nearly half the industry, 10 brands, 100 ships worldwide. The industry is still growing. ABC's own parent company, Disney, has 4 ships of its own.